Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something deeply important that could transform your life and relationships. I want to talk about 4 types of people that intelligent individuals tend to keep at a distance. Now, before you think about skipping ahead, I promise this isn't your typical avoid toxic people video. What we're exploring today goes much deeper, drawing from ancient wisdom that has guided thoughtful people for over 2,000 years. The insights I'm about to share have personally helped me navigate complex relationships and protect my mental peace, and I believe they'll do the same for you if you stay with me until the end. These principles come from Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us how to live well by focusing on what we can control and developing inner strength. The Stoics understood human nature profoundly, and their wisdom remains just as relevant today as it was in ancient Rome and Greece. So let's begin our journey and discover the 4 types of people that intelligent individuals, including the great Stoic philosophers, advise us to keep at a distance: the chronic complainers. The first type of people that intelligent individuals tend to keep at a distance are chronic complainers, those who constantly focus on problems without seeking solutions. These are the people who see obstacles everywhere but opportunities nowhere. Every conversation becomes a litany of what's wrong with the world, their job, their family, or the weather. Nothing is ever good enough, and they rarely take responsibility for changing their circumstances. The Stoics were well aware of this. In personality type, Epictetus, who began his life as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, warned, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us." Chronic complainers forget this essential distinction. They expend enormous energy lamenting things beyond their control while neglecting what they could actually change. Think about how you feel after spending time with someone who only complains. That heaviness in your chest, that drain on your energy. These are signs that this interaction isn't serving you well. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, noted, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving." The process is mutual, for men learn as they teach. This doesn't mean abandoning people when they're genuinely going through difficult times. We all face challenges and need support. The difference is between someone temporarily processing hardship versus someone who has made complaining their permanent worldview. Intelligent people recognize this distinction and choose to spend their limited time and energy with those who approach life's challenges with a constructive mindset. They understand that our thoughts and attitudes are contagious, and they protect themselves accordingly. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil." Rather than becoming frustrated by complainers, intelligent people practice compassion from a distance. They recognize that chronic complaining often stems from a person's inability to see beyond their immediate discomfort or to take responsibility for their lives. But they also recognize that constant exposure to such negativity can erode their own resilience and perspective. The manipulators, the second type of people that intelligent individuals distance themselves from, are manipulators, those who use others as mere instruments for their own gain. Manipulators are masters of disguise. They may present themselves as friends, mentors, or trusted advisors, but their primary concern is always self-interest. They use subtle tactics, guilt, flattery, gaslighting, or emotional blackmail to control others and extract what they want. The Stoics were keenly aware of such people. Epictetus warned, "If a person gave your body to any stranger he met, on his way you would certainly be angry, And do you feel no shame in handing over your own mind to be confused and mystified by anyone who happens to verbally attack you? This perfectly captures what happens when we allow manipulators into our inner circle. We give them power over our thoughts, emotions, and decisions, essentially surrendering our autonomy. Intelligent people guard against this carefully. They develop what psychologists now call healthy skepticism, the ability to question motives and statements without becoming paranoid or cynical. They pay attention to patterns of behavior rather than words alone. Seneca emphasized the importance of authentic relationships when he wrote, "Ponder for a long time whether you shall admit a given person to your friendship. But when you have decided to admit him, welcome him with all your heart and soul. Speak as boldly with him as with yourself." The problem with manipulators is that they make true friendship impossible. Friendship requires mutual respect, honesty, and genuine care, qualities that manipulators only simulate when it serves their purposes. How can you identify manipulators? Look for these warning signs. They make you doubt your perceptions and memories. Your relationship feels unbalanced. You give, they take. They use emotional reactions to control situations. They rarely take responsibility for their actions. You feel confused, guilty, or exhausted after interactions with them. Intelligent people notice these patterns and create healthy boundaries. They understand that not everyone deserves close access to their lives, thoughts, and vulnerabilities. As Marcus Aurelius advised, be selective with your battles. Sometimes peace is better than being right. This doesn't mean becoming harsh or judgmental. Rather, it means recognizing that some relationships cannot be genuinely reciprocal and adjusting your engagement accordingly. As the Stoics taught, we can interact with all types of people while maintaining our inner citadel, our core values and peace of mind. The intellectually dishonest. The third type of people that intelligent individuals keep at a distance are the intellectually dishonest, those who don't engage with ideas and conversations in good faith. These are people who aren't interested in finding truth or understanding. They're interested in winning arguments, appearing smart, or confirming what they already believe. They cherry-pick evidence, use logical fallacies, twist others' words, and refuse to consider alternative perspectives. The Stoics placed enormous value on intellectual integrity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I shall gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone. The harm is to persist in one's own self-deception and ignorance. This humble attitude stands in stark contrast to intellectual dishonesty. The intellectually dishonest person is not seeking truth, but validation. They've decided their conclusion in advance, and all conversation serves only to reinforce what they already believe. Epictetus observed, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." This captures the fundamental problem with intellectual dishonesty. It closes the mind to growth and discovery. Intelligent people recognize this trait in others and maintain a healthy distance. They understand that engaging with someone who isn't interested in authentic exchange is not only frustrating, but ultimately fruitless. They prefer to spend time with those who challenge them honestly and are willing to be challenged in return. Signs of intellectual dishonesty include constantly shifting the goalposts when presented with contradictory evidence, using emotional appeals to shut down rational discussion, refusing to acknowledge when they don't know something, misrepresenting, opposing viewpoints rather than addressing them accurately, dismissing credible sources that contradict their position while uncritically accepting questionable sources that support it. In today's information environment, intellectual dishonesty is particularly dangerous. Social media algorithms tend to reward certainty over nuance, outrage over understanding. This makes it all the more important to surround yourself with people who value intellectual integrity. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, emphasized that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we say. Intellectually dishonest people reverse this ratio. They're too busy talking to truly listen and consider other perspectives. Again, maintaining distance doesn't mean treating these individuals with contempt. As Stoicism teaches, we can recognize others' flaws while still treating them with basic decency and understanding that their intellectual dishonesty likely stems from insecurity, fear, or simply habit. But we can make conscious choices about how much of our mental energy we invest in such relationships. The glory seekers. The 4th type of people that intelligent individuals tend to distance themselves from are glory seekers, those obsessed with status, recognition, and external validation. These are people whose decisions and actions revolve around how they'll be perceived by others. They chase titles, possessions, and public acclaim, often sacrificing authentic relationships and inner peace in the process. Their sense of self-worth is entirely dependent on external validation. The Stoics were particularly critical of this mindset. Seneca wrote, "How many find wealth an intolerable burden? How many are there who are worn out by the very thing that dazzled the crowd? How many have no free time because they are continuously engaged in giving demonstrations of how busy they are?" Glory seekers live in constant anxiety because they've placed their happiness in things they cannot control, the opinions and judgments of others. As Marcus Aurelius observed, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Intelligent people recognize the futility of this approach to life. They understand that tying your worth to external recognition is a recipe for perpetual dissatisfaction. No amount of status or praise can fill the void of internal validation. This doesn't mean that intelligent people don't pursue excellence or achievement. Rather, they do so for intrinsically meaningful reasons, not for the applause. They appreciate recognition when it comes, but they don't depend on it for their sense of worth. Glory seekers tend to display certain patterns. They name drop and find ways to mention their accomplishments, connections, or possessions. Their generosity often comes with strings attached or public recognition. They're highly concerned with appearances and status symbols. They struggle to celebrate others' successes authentically. Their kindness fluctuates based on what they can gain from you. Epictetus offered this insight. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. Don't wish to be thought to know anything, and even if you appear to be somebody important to others, distrust yourself. This humility is precisely what glory seekers lack, and unfortunately their constant striving for recognition often leads them to use others as stepping stones rather than connecting with them authentically. Intelligent people prefer relationships based on genuine connection rather than utility. They create distance from glory seekers not out of judgment, but out of a recognition that these relationships tend to be hollow and conditional. The Stoic approach to difficult people. Now that we've identified these 4 types of people, you might be wondering, should I just cut everyone like this out of my life completely? The Stoic answer is more nuanced. Complete avoidance isn't always possible or even desirable. We encounter difficult people in our families, workplaces, and communities. What matters is how we engage with them and the degree of closeness we permit. Epictetus offered this practical advice. Remember that you ought to behave in life as you would at a banquet. As something is being passed around, it comes to you. Stretch out your hand, take a portion of it politely. It passes on. Do not detain it, or it has not come to you yet. Do not project your desire to meet it, but wait until it comes in front of you. This is the balanced approach that intelligent people take. They don't aggressively cut people off without cause, but they also don't desperately cling to harmful relationships. They engage appropriately when necessary and create healthy distance when possible. The Stoics also emphasized the importance of compassion. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil, but I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own." This perspective allows us to maintain our boundaries. While still seeing the humanity in difficult people, we can understand that complainers are often suffering. Manipulators typically learned their behavior from being manipulated themselves. The intellectually dishonest are often protecting fragile egos, and glory seekers are trying to fill an internal void. Seneca put it beautifully. "Let us be more gentle with one another. We are bad men living among bad men, and only one thing can calm us: to agree to forgive one another." Cultivating your inner circle. While intelligent people know to create distance from these four types, they also know the importance of actively cultivating relationships with people who embody the opposite qualities. Instead of chronic complainers, seek out problem solvers, those who face challenges with resilience and creativity. Instead of manipulators, build connections with those who are transparent, consistent, and genuinely supportive without hidden agendas. Instead of the intellectually dishonest, find people who love truth more than being right, who can change their minds when presented with new evidence, and who engage in good faith dialogue. Instead of glory seekers, surround yourself with those who find joy in the process rather than the recognition, who can celebrate your successes as genuinely as their own, and who value substance over status. Epictetus advised, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." This doesn't mean seeking out only those who agree with you or make you comfortable. Often, the people who challenge us most constructively are those who help us grow the most. But these challenges should come from a place of goodwill and shared commitment to truth and growth, not from manipulation, intellectual dishonesty, chronic negativity, or status games. Becoming someone worth being around. There's one final dimension to consider in this discussion. While we've focused on identifying and creating distance from certain types of people, we must also look inward and ask, do I sometimes exhibit these same behaviors? Am I sometimes the complainer, the manipulator, the intellectually dishonest person, or the glory seeker? Self-examination was central to Stoic practice. Seneca recommended, at the end of the day, we should review and consider our actions. What bad habit have I overcome today? What vice have I resisted? In what way am I better? This honest self-reflection helps ensure that we're not guilty of the very behaviors we're trying to avoid in others. It's much easier to identify these traits in those around us than to recognize them in ourselves. As intelligent people keep their distance from these four types, they simultaneously work to ensure they don't fall into these patterns themselves. They strive to be solution-oriented rather than complaint-focused, authentic rather than manipulative, intellectually honest rather than defensive, and intrinsically motivated rather than validation-seeking. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. As we conclude our exploration of the four types of people that intelligent individuals keep at a distance, I hope you've gained some valuable insights into your own relationships and perhaps recognized patterns you hadn't noticed before. Remember, the goal isn't to judge or condemn others, but to make conscious choices about who we allow to influence our thoughts, emotions, and decisions. As the Stoics recognized thousands of years ago, the quality of our lives is deeply connected to the quality of our relationships. By creating healthy distance from chronic complainers, manipulators, the intellectually dishonest and glory seekers, we create space for more meaningful connections with those who inspire our growth and support our well-being. And by examining these traits in ourselves, we become more aware of our own patterns and work to embody the qualities we seek in others. Epictetus said it best: "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." When we know our values and priorities, we can make wiser choices about who we welcome into our inner circle. Thank you for staying with me throughout this video. If you found value in these insights, please consider sharing it with someone who might benefit. And let me know in the comments which of these 4 types you've encountered most often and how you've navigated those relationships. Until next time, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking."